A core part of a show's identity is its art style, whether we're talking about cartoons from the East or West. About a month ago, for my own sadistic pleasure, I wanted to swap the art styles of 4 anime and 4 Western cartoons. So here's how I did. Arcane is one of my favorite recent animated shows, and Gurren Lagann is the first anime I ever watched. I have a great amount of affection for both shows, so I paired them up for this art style swap. In terms of art style, they couldn't be more different. Arcane's characters are 3D models with digitally painted details on top, with no outlines, just shadows and highlights. Gurren Lagann is 2D animated with thin black outlines and simple blocky highlights and shadows. I started with the easy part, turning Arcane into Gurren Lagann style. All I had to do was flatten everything out, simplify all the characters' details, and brighten up the colors a bit. Thankfully, Gurren Lagann has a million characters with all kinds of head and eye shapes, so I was able to pull from them to keep the Arcane characters looking like themselves. I also didn't have to do a lot of rendering, just some smooth highlights on the hair and simple shadows. I think it came out looking like an actual anime, which I'm happy about. The characters look accurate, the colors are bold, and I can easily picture an anime intro with these character designs. And yes, I traced the little gears and stuff in the background. I'm really bad at that kind of stuff. I also outlined where all the characters are positioned on the poster because it helped me get the whole piece started and to help me keep the composition consistent. What can I say? I have artistic weaknesses. And speaking of, next I had to draw Gurren Lagann in Arcane's style, and boy was that intimidating. But in order to evolve as an artist, I must risk failure. So, while staring obsessively at a bunch of reference images from Arcane, I started with tracing out the positions of the characters, and I heavily traced the mech, because I am horrible at drawing mechs. I adjusted the proportions of the characters, especially their faces. I also shortened Kamina's arm. It kind of was looking a little long. It works in Gurren Lagann style, but it didn't for Arcane's style, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree. I had to de-exaggerate a lot of the anime facial features and expressions, like the eyes and the mouths mostly, and then I had to block in the basic colors before diving into the painting. As scary as that was to tackle, I actually ended up really enjoying the process. Probably the hardest part was rendering Nia's hair. I don't think I did it right. Her hair is really cute, but I had no idea how to translate it into the slightly more realistic Arcane style, especially with the little blue swirly bits. I also forgot the Team Daiguren logo on the mech in the background, but I really like how Yoko and Kamina turned out. Not only do they look like themselves, but I think I nailed the Arcane painterly style pretty well with them. I think Simon's face is a little bit too pale and low contrast, but whatever. These shows couldn't be more different if they tried. And the idea to swap their styles came to me kind of randomly, and it's the sole reason this video exists. Heartcatch Precure is an extremely cute magical girl anime, and Ed, Edd n Eddy is very goofy looking with loose anatomy and wiggly lines. So first I went to work ruining Heartcatch Precure. Okay, that's not very nice. Ed, Edd n Eddy's style is classic and it works for what the show is. Anyway, I simplified the characters down to simple shapes. I tried to keep the basic details of their costumes the same while staying loose with it. I used a rougher pen brush for the outlines that, actually looking back on it, doesn't quite match the line quality of Ed, Edd n Eddy, and I forgot to include the little fairy sidekicks from the original poster. Oh well, if you haven't noticed already, I'm not a perfectionist. The process was easy, but I was also nervous about how it would end up looking. It almost felt like I was ruining the original show, but looking at it now, it's still pretty cute and colorful. It looks like a magical girl show that would exist in the world of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Now to turn Ed, Edd n Eddy into cute little anime kids. I had to adjust their proportions, make them a little bit more realistic, and then I also had to adjust their positions inside the shopping cart. I used smoother line art, white highlights, and simple shadows. I color picked directly from the original, just to make them look more like their original designs, but I had to improvise iris colors for all three of them, since the original characters just have black dots for eyes. I also made sure to include Ed's blue tongue, because he has a blue tongue. It's pretty distinctive. I also had to add more hair to all three of them. In the original, they have a few loose strands at most, so I gave them hair to fit the heart catch style better. Fun fact, when I was a kid, I thought Double D had Bride of Frankenstein hair, and I thought that well into adulthood until I realized he was wearing a really tall beanie with stripes. Thankfully, I realized that before tackling this drawing. Mononoke is a supernatural anime with a distinct textured style, and Hazbin Hotel is a hugely popular musical adult cartoon with very bold, spiky, generally pointy character designs. As cool as Mononoke's style is, I haven't actually watched the whole show. I mostly chose it because of the style. However, I have seen all of Hazbin so far, and I enjoy the show, which, according to the internet, is a heinous crime. Making Hazbin Hotel look more like Mononoke requires much softer, textured line art and more realistic proportions. I had to shrink everyone's eyes and fill out their long, skinny forms a bit. One detail I noticed in Mononoke is that, unlike a lot of anime, the teeth are divided out instead of being one long, solid shape, so I made sure to include that detail, especially for Charlie there in the center. I tried stylizing the flames in the foreground to look a bit like the background details in Mononoke's set pieces, and I put rough wall texture on top of it all to give it that distinct painting look that Mononoke has. Honestly, I'm not a fan of how it came out. It doesn't really look like Hazbin Hotel anymore. I had to change Charlie's nose because I wasn't sure how to translate her little triangle nose into Mononoke's style. I eventually settled on a little black cat nose. I also don't like how Alistair looks. He's just not as cool anymore. I think part of it was toning down his wide smile. I don't know. I tried. Now to turn Mononoke into Hazbin Hotel. I chose a simpler poster with only the medicine seller on the front so I could just focus on him and not worry about all the other weird creatures in that show. So I simplified his form. I made his eyes a lot bigger, and I made his pointy ears even pointier. I gave him thick, bold, black outlines and bright colors with no shading or highlights or texture. I gave the little Oni face on the end of his sword that wide, pointed Vivzy Pop smile. I don't know if that's an Oni, that's just my guess, I'm not an expert. I made sure to include the medicine seller's face paint too. It helps keep him recognizable and distinct. So there wasn't much to do here, but I think it turned out pretty solid. I'm not sure if it looks exactly like it would come out of one of Vivzy Pop's shows, but I don't know. I think it looks pretty neat anyway. I like it better than my Hazbin Hotel swap, which I think goes to show that I'm no good at emulating traditional Japanese art. Kaiba is a very weird yet beautifully animated show about the nature of identity and memory, and The Venture Brothers is an homage and parody of classic superhero comics and old adventure cartoons, which is also well animated. I chose to swap these two because I love them both for very different reasons, and everybody should go watch them if they haven't seen them, right now. To make Kaiba look like the Venture Brothers, I had to adjust the proportions of the characters, give them longer limbs and torsos, more realistically shaped heads, sharpen the soft edges of the originals, I gave them thicker comic book line art and color picked directly from the original poster. I also changed the font of the show's title to make it look closer to the Venture Brothers title logo. At first I considered turning up the saturation of the characters. Like, I kind of wanted to make her outfit look a bit more red, but when I stood back and looked at it, I think the Venture Brothers style came through even with the softer, muted color palette. As much as I liked how my Kaiba swap turned out, I got nervous again when trying to turn the Venture Brothers into Kaiba. I largely kept the proportions of the characters, which doesn't quite translate. I think I should have made them shorter, but I don't know. I got scared. But I tried to make them squishier looking. I also had to decide how I was going to draw everyone's faces, since the characters in Kaiba are as varied as they are squishy. I settled on giving Brock Sampson beady dot eyes to invoke his prowess in the art of murder. I made Hank and Dean look more like Kaiba since they are plucky, young protagonist types. And I thankfully found a background character in Kaiba that looks exactly like how Dr. Venture would be drawn in this style. I changed up the title as well. I smoothed out the outer edges and added little orbs on the end of some of the letters to emulate the way Kaiba's title is drawn in the poster, giving it its spacey, dreamy feel. Overall, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would, except I don't like how I drew Brock. I'm sorry, Brock, please don't kill me. Well, that was fun. It certainly was a good exercise to try and describe each show's art style and emulate it. It was kind of fun to see what each show would look like if completely different artists made them. While I think my success was varied, it was a good time. Who knows? Maybe I'll do another one in the future. But for now, like and comment, let me know how bad I am, and subscribe.